When I was in school, trading cards were all anyone seemed to care about, and there was one for every type of interest you can imagine: movies, TV shows, comedy, but two kinds ruled the roost: match attacks and Pokemon. So, as I was tidying my room and reminiscing on times gone by and feelings I will, quite frankly, never get back, I was struck with a question. Which 11 Pokemon would make the best football team? Okay, so for starters, standard football rules apply. 11 aside, no handling the ball except for a goalkeeper, and I am counting vines and other such appendages as hands. And while players can use moves or special abilities to, say, do a big jump, I'm going to rule that it's illegal for a player to take flight, which does preclude most, but not all, flying types from making it into my team. They also have to be able to fit on a regulation sized football pitch, so I can't just plonk a Wailord in front of the goal and call it a day. Legendaries and mythicals are all fair game, but no distortion of time, space, or reality will be permitted. The Kanto Football Association has made that very clear. Oh, and only one Pokemon from each evolutionary line, just to make it a bit of a challenge. In terms of formation, I've gone with a classic 4-3-3 shape, so 4 defenders, 3 midfielders, 3 attackers, just because I feel like that will allow us a little more control in possession and help us dictate play nicely. And also because of the Pokemon we had available to us, this was the best way to get our best 11 out there on the pitch. It's also a formation that allows for a lot of positional rotation, which is useful because this is a very, very fluid team. Anyway, in goal, I've gone for Ambipom, which was one of the easier decisions I had to make, to be honest with you. It's got massive hands that already look like they're wearing goalkeeper gloves, it moves at a decent pace, and it reacts well. This Pokemon is a natural born goalkeeper. I considered Deoxys as well for this position, as it's sort of spaghetti limbed and can extend its arms like it's some sort of Mr. Fantastic, but that elasticity put me off in the end, as it's not really as reliable as the solid hands that Ambipom offers. At left back, I've chosen Sceptile. A problem I encountered early on in this thought experiment is the sheer chicken leggedness of most Pokemon. It's either that or they've got stubby little Quagsire legs, neither of which are ideal. For football, anyway. Quagsire is, of course, ideal in any other circumstance. I love you, Quagsire. There's no such problem here. Look at those calves. Yes, I know its knees do bend in completely the wrong direction, but that's not so much of a problem, I don't think. The reason I've stuck it in at left back is the massive tree sticking out of its back end. I feel like that would be quite useful for blocking off opponents from the ball, as it puts them a good foot and a half away from it. I also feel like it would have the skill and technique to come inside and operate as an additional midfielder and create overloads while still leaving an effective back three, which I will get to shortly. The left-sided centre-back was one of the tougher positions to whittle down. It really ended up as a toss-up for me between Incineroar and Hitmonlee. While I feel Hitmonlee would be much better on the ball due to its famed kicking ability, Incineroar ultimately won out by virtue of its height and also being a dark type, which means I've no doubt it would have a trick up its sleeve in terms of winning a dubious free kick while defending its own box, or breaking up attacks with sly little tackles, that sort of thing. The type of player you really hate, unless of course he's on your team. The right-sided centre-back is Machamp, and I mean that one felt inevitable. Having 4 arms does make it something of a handball risk, so I did briefly consider Machoke for the position, but standing at 4'11", I couldn't for a second consider that acceptable for a central defender, not even in Pokeball. Not that Machamp is a lot bigger, it's only 5'3", but this little extra combined with the extra strength that it's going to have is enough to convince me that it won't get dribbled past. It does, I will say, leave me a little concerned that we'll be vulnerable to teams going Route 1 and hitting long balls over the top, but I think the defence is classy enough for the most part to deal with that. Dodrio is a fascinating option as a flying fullback. 5'11" with 3 heads, an incredible leap, and capable of moving at breakneck pace. Dodrio puts my mind at ease with the general height issue at the back. It would also, I feel, provide an invaluable option as a late box crasher from a corner kick, coming in at speed, out-jumping just about anybody, and getting one of its 3 heads on it. It is a very chicken-legged Pokemon, which I was worried about, but frankly, at the speeds it's running, who's going to tackle it? That said, I do have concerns regarding its technique.
Passimian, the teamwork Pokemon, a fighting type. Passimian follow the orders of their boss and make skillful teamwork plays.
That tells me everything I need to know about Passimian. It's exactly the sort of attitude I want from my players, and it's these sort of intangibles that have separated it out from all the other vaguely humanoid or simian Pokemon. And look, I know it's a basketballer, not a footballer, but my centre back pairing are a wrestler and a boxer, and one of my fullbacks is a tree lizard. So, frankly, it being a trained sports person is clearly good enough for me. On the left side of my midfield, I've gone with Inteleon against my better judgment. I had originally earmarked Lopunny for this position as it's vaguely humanoid and looks like it might be able to play a bit, and hashtag her game too, but then Inteleon caught my eye. It is much too gangly for my liking, I will say, but aside from that, it's wet and it's slick, making it incredibly difficult for an opponent to grapple for the ball, like when they used to lube up Adama Traore. What pushed the balance for me in the end, though, is its vision. This is a Pokemon that's typically portrayed as a sniper, so if we can use that sort of vision to turn into a keen eye for a pass, we might just be in business. On the right side of midfield, it's Mewtwo. Aura. Mewtwo could not be left out. It's Zidane. It's Cruyff. It's Mewtwo. Give it the captain's armband. Let's move on to the next one. My attackers all do have some traits in common, which will become obvious pretty soon. But on the left wing, I've gone with Infernape. The fact that it's got 2 foot of flame coming off the back of its head was certainly a consideration. Much like Sceptile, it's a lot harder to mark someone if they've got 2 foot of fire coming off the back of them. In fact, when playing five-a-side, I've found that the threat of going on fire does tend to deter defenders somewhat. On top of that, its sheer strength, speed, and technique made it an obvious choice. This is a strong, fast Pokemon that can probably deliver a decent cross, and if not, it very much has the ability to cut inside and bend one into the postage stamp. Very similar on the other wing, I've gone with Blaziken. Famed for doing a big kick, Blaziken can learn low kick, kick attack, blaze kick, and double kick, and only one of them I made up. I've no doubt Blaziken will be invaluable at getting to the byline, whipping in pinpoint crosses on at the head of our striker, or battering them at goal itself. Its pace, in particular when changing direction, will help it dovetail beautifully with overlapping runs from Dodrio or behind it. The most obvious inclusion on this list, Cinderace is literally the striker Pokemon. I've seen what it can do with the ball at its feet, and let me tell you, its skill and technique are unmatched in the world of Pokemon. Look at this skill. Fast as you like, tall as you need, Cinderace can score any type of goal, create for teammates, and position itself beautifully to finish off attacks. Truly, Oyogo Bonito. So here's what the 11 looks like, and honestly I think it's pretty decent. Could the Pokemon national team, under the tutelage of their manager Ash Ketchum, get a taste of World Cup glory? It's hard to say. I think they'd struggle in some games as the defence isn't exactly impenetrable, but I think with our star striker up front and some good positional play from the rest of the lads, I'd say they should make it out of the group and maybe be able to think about the quarters, maybe the semi, depending on the draw. But what do you reckon? Who would you bring in and in which positions? Let me know in the comments. And that's that. Go away.